How's it going, Patreon subscribers? First off, I want to say thank you very much to everyone who is a Patreon member on GameFix. It really helps the show out a lot, and we appreciate your support. Anyways, a challenge was issued to me by Bocephus, one of our Patreons, to look for a glitch in a video game. It came to my attention that there's a glitch in one of the WWF games on the Super Nintendo and or Sega Genesis, in which you can make the referee leave the game, causing the entire game to just wig out. I've tried looking into this to see if I could find any info. Perhaps maybe somebody knows how to trigger this. Apparently, if you hit the referee enough times, the game will eventually just crash. Will I be able to find this? Let's find out. The first one we're going to get started on is Super WrestleMania for the Sega Genesis. The Super Nintendo version, I appreciate Bocephus lending me his copy to help with this research. Some differences in the roster aside, both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis versions of Super WrestleMania are practically identical. The control schemes are pretty much the same. I think the Super Nintendo version probably runs a little bit smoother. For their time, I guess they were decent wrestling games. They weren't really too amazing. They had a tug-of-war mechanic in which you just mashed the buttons to execute one of the various slams. It is to my dismay that sadly this version of the game does not allow you to hit the referee. So while again I appreciate the efforts, Bocephus, it turns out that this game was a bust. Oh well, live and learn. Royal Rumble is the second game in the series. Let's give this one a go. Royal Rumble is the second game in the series, and it expands on a couple of things in the first one. There's a few more holds and throws in this one, but for the most part the gameplay is the same. If there's one thing that is a nice touch is that you now have a little indicator or a meter bar to show the tug-of-war action. It still doesn't really do anything to stop the mash-happy nature of this game, but it's a nice touch. So when it came to pummeling on the ref, yeah, you can hit him in this one, and you can knock him down. However, it doesn't look like he leaves the ring or tries to quit anytime soon. It's kind of strange that you can punch him, but you can't kick him. But you can run into him and you can knock him over. It was a neat little dynamic added to this game to encourage cheating. Those dastardly heels. So it doesn't look like I can get the ref to leave in this one. Now it's time to move on to WWF Raw and Super Nintendo. This is where the fun begins. With Monday Night Raw, once again the fundamental gameplay remains largely the same, except this one takes a little bit of a turn for the wackier. Luna Vachon joins the roster, making her the first female in a wrestling video game to be playable. There's way more match modes, including Brawl, which is what they called it before hardcore fights. And alongside finishers, there were also these hidden moves, which I could only get to work a handful of times. The computer would execute them all the time, but I can never quite figure it out. So before I get to the ref glitch, or my attempt to do it, one of the first glitches that I found, and I'm not really sure how much of it is a glyph, but it's more of a gaff, there is a way to eliminate yourself from the Royal Rumble. The easiest way to do this is to go to Royal Rumble, set the difficulty up to 10 so that it's easier to throw your opponent over the ropes. As soon as the match starts, perform an Irish whip to throw them off of the ropes, and then hip toss them out of the ring. Immediately climb the turnbuckle and leap off. The game should still register the opponent you just threw as being on the ground, so if you're fast enough, you can leap outside of the ring and land on them, thus eliminating yourself, and pretty much leaving a rumble with nobody in it, or at least no playable characters. Yeah, with a few button presses, you can take control of one of the CPU opponents, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. So whereas I couldn't find a way to make the game completely shut down and stop working by beating on the referee for an endless eternity, there is a fun trick where you can beat on the referee for an endless eternity. Of course, when you do beat on him after a while, I think when you knock him down 10 times, he'll eventually leave the ring. If you can have a second player cut him off at the guardrails, you can get him stuck on the barrier between the opponent and the boundary, so he's unable to leave. It's at this point where I take the opportunity to just wail on him for, I don't know, probably like a good hour or so. And whereas nothing didn't crash, I tried attacking him with the second player, and it got him to throw his arms in the air and try and leave again, except this time he tries to go into the other direction. But because he repeats the walk cycle, he ends up going upward and getting stuck onto the ring apron and the stairs. It's pretty much at this point where the world in this game becomes your oyster. I tried picking up the bucket to hit him with it, and alright, that didn't work. I lied, it's not your oyster. Oh yeah, you can get fed up and you can try to leave, but you ain't going nowhere. And the remainder of the game just pretty much becomes a hardcore free-for-all where you and your opponent can just beat the hell out of each other, smack the ref around a little bit more, smack yourselves around in front of the ref who can't leave, until you just decide to get bored. So, not necessarily game-breaking or overly game-crashing, but this one was fun to investigate. And also, I don't know if it had anything to do with interrupting his counts, but when I wandered over to the other side of the screen, the indicator where he's counting you outside of the ring becomes locked up in the corner. So it's strange that some rules still halfway apply and you can still technically get counted out. It was fascinating. I don't know I don't know how I triggered that one on purpose. I'll provide an update to the video if I ever figure that out one. Oh, the All-American Lex Luger isn't gonna take that one laying down. Here he comes with the bionic elbow. What a maneuver! Well, it looks like I've ultimately failed the challenge that I was looking for. I wasn't able to get that kind of game crashing glitch to happen, but I did find at least two others that I wasn't aware that I could do. So, with that said, once again, thanks for watching, and see you next time.